Head coach John Featherstone and the El Camino Warriors are preparing for yet another test tonight. Their opponent, the Long Beach Vikings, stand between them and a bowl berth. The history of El Camino football is filled with nights such as this. The program has gained a reputation of success based on the ability to win the big games. Coach Featherstone and his staff have the second highest winning percentage in the nation, with a 54-19-1 record in 8 years in Torrance. They've gone to 5 bowl games, won 5 conference titles, a national championship, and have sent hundreds of players to major college programs. Tonight, the Warriors' pride, poise, and perseverance will be tested once again. Tom Dallen's field goal on the final play of the first half pulls El Camino to within 11. But this team knows how to handle itself during tough times, proved by some heady triumphs earlier in the season. The Warriors played the unfamiliar role of underdog in Week 1 at Visalia against the state's #1 ranked team, College of the Sequoias. The El Camino defense completely shut down All-American quarterback Robert Dougherty, who completed just 30% of his passes and was sacked 6 times. A traditionally strong Fullerton team had even less success against the swarming Warrior defenders in Week 2. 85 rushing yards and only 9 pass completions mustered just 9 points for Fullerton. But the biggest test of El Camino's poise would be in Week 4. Early on against Riverside, it appeared Latario Rochelle would single-handedly win the game. He caught 8 passes for 135 yards and scored 3 touchdowns in every way imaginable: running, receiving, and punt returning. In all, the Warriors gained over 500 yards of total offense. After Brandon Himmelwright sprung Ivan Wilson free, Rochelle made the block of the game as Wilson, who rambled for 161 yards, opened up a 3-touchdown lead with one of his 3 scores. Though the defense played valiantly, bad breaks resulted in a Riverside comeback, forcing yet another ECC late-game gut check. Late in the game, a critical 3rd and 10. Rochelle holds on to the ball and slips through the defense for 11 yards. Suddenly, no yardage marker was too far away, no setback too great. This offense was going to find a way to win. In dramatic fashion, Wilson sent his teammates into euphoria. The drive was complete, executed by an offense which refuses to accept defeat. Featherstone's game plans are devised along with offensive coordinator Gene Engel. Here are the sophomore offensive linemen, supported by Kyle Houck, Pitu To'omalatai, Scott Werner, and Steve Hallett. And coached by former Warrior star Pat Hunt. All-America tackle Art Donnell showed talent and maturity well beyond his years. All-State guard Moy Tailo was co-offensive player of the game against Rancho Santiago. In all-conference center, Robert Saleh was voted the team's outstanding lineman. This sophomore backfield, along with Corey Clark, was perfectly balanced between bruising size and blazing speed. The runners and quarterbacks were coached by Fred Peterson. Number 37, Tony DaCosta, was a punishing runner and blocker. His ability to get outside and also catch passes made him a perfect complement to All-American Ivan Wilson, number 34. Wilson scored 24 touchdowns, finishing the season with nearly 1,300 yards rushing and another 523 on 44 catches. He broke ECC records for rushing yards and touchdowns in a single game and career touchdowns. Wilson averaged an astonishing 6.7 yards per carry, often gaining much of that yardage after first and second hits. Lining up in the slot as an H-back, Wilson was also the Warriors' second leading receiver. With a few kickoff returns thrown in for good measure, Wilson led the conference in all-purpose yardage with 1,940 and shared ECC's Most Valuable Player award with Lotario Rochelle. Quarterback Jerry Singleton, headed for Colorado State, also had a tremendous season. Possessor of a lightning-quick release, he led the conference in touchdown-to-interception ratio and passed for more than 2,300 yards.
Look ahead, the crowd is jumping. Pump it up a little more, get the party going on the dance floor. See, 'cause that's where the party's at, and you find out if you do that.
In 2 years, with number 12 at the helm, the Warriors confidently marched on their way to a 14-3 record. The sophomore receivers were supported by Twan Garrett, Toshi Ono, and Derek Hobson, and coached by Gene Simon and Warrior record holder Dwight Pickens. John Cummins was a heady player, valuable in several roles. Tight end Damon Terrell was the surprise of the season. Tough, fast, sure-handed. He caught 24 passes and was named Outstanding Offensive Freshman. Versatile Mario Smith, number 17, may have been the most unsung of the Warrior receiving corps. And one of the most dangerous was speedster Tony Knox. After averaging nearly 18 yards per catch, Knox is poised to take center stage in the 1993 Warrior offense. Who was that making that tremendous block? It's the player Coach Featherstone calls one of the best JC talents he has ever seen. Number 2, Lotario Rochelle was the 1992 Conference Offensive Player of the Year. His 61 catches for 1,074 yards and 15 touchdowns only scratches the surface of his talents. The most feared player in JC football, he epitomizes the definition of multiple threat. Leading the conference in receiving yards, punt return yards, and kickoff return average, Rochelle averaged 17.8 yards every time he touched the ball. This two-time All-American will attend Cal Berkeley in 1993 after establishing the record for career receiving yards at ECC. These sophomores on the special teams made that unit solid. Former Warrior All-State kicker Doug Pfaff coached the kickers. All-conference punter Brian Hammonds consistently got ECC out of trouble. Here, booming a kick 65 yards in the air and 88 yards with a bounce. Players like Bob Tuitau blocking this field goal. Nacio Jennings, Alex Hairston, Mark Afoa, Aaron Talua. At number 33, award-winning Frank Padilla teamed with snapper J.R. Smith to pave the way for All-America place kicker Tom Dallin to set an ECC record of 13 field goals in a season. After the big win at Riverside, the special teams would set the tone early against Rancho Santiago. From the opening kickoff, it was clear the Warriors were ready to play. Sean Parnell, number 4, earned Defensive Player of the Game honors as he opened the scoring with a dazzling interception return. A high-charged Warrior defense relentlessly pounded Rancho Santiago until it was time for the Ivan and Latario show. Twice, Wilson set Rochelle up for scores as the ECC lead became insurmountable. Wilson finished with 165 yards rushing, and quarterback Jerry Singleton threw for 324 yards while completing 67% of his passes. The next week against Orange Coast, Singleton again completed 2/3 of his aerials, but the hero of the game was Wilson. With 257 yards and 6 touchdowns, number 34 not only set 3 ECC records, he broke O.J. Simpson's JC record for TDs in a game. The Warrior defense allowed Orange Coast just 26 yards on the ground and only 12 pass completions. Brian Malinowski's interception became one of the more bizarre plays of the season when he lateraled illegally to Andy Avalar, who sped 82 yards to the end zone. When the play was called back, Wilson retraced Avalar's steps, sprinting 55 yards right past O.J. Simpson into the record books. By week 7, Ivan Wilson was virtually unstoppable. Thanks largely to the play of linemen like Alex Martinez, Wilson ran his 4-game total to 776 yards and 14 touchdowns. But this game would be an all-around effort for ECC. Tony DaCosta followed Tipa Alelima into the end zone for 1 score. Another was set up by Ken Burdine's hit and Nacio Jennings' recovery, and cashed in by Mario Smith's juggling catch. Defensively, the Warriors pulled off the ultimate team effort. Avalar, Malinowski, Boykins, Talanoa, Katoa, Talua, and Schultz. The Falcons completed only 8 passes and were shut out in the second half. For the 4th straight game, Jerry Singleton threw for over 225 yards, finding everyone open. Damon Terrell made a big play to set up Latario Rochelle for the score that broke Cerritos' back. Tim Trahan intercepted 1 pass for ECC, and the team's second pick sealed the game. A marvelous diving effort by Demetrius Boykins. The Warrior defense took center stage in week 8. Plays like this were omens of turnovers to come. Pasadena's running backs gained just 50 yards, and the Warriors allowed only 100 yards through the air. The Lancers' downfall began when they fumbled the Fumble-Rooski. After Andy Avalar's recovery, Singleton found Tony Knox, who made the catch of the season. Mario Smith's touchdown reception put ECC comfortably ahead at halftime. The Warriors had 7 sacks on this memorable evening. The 6th knocked Pasadena starter out of the game. And his replacement soon found the backfield to be a most unsafe place. The defense's perseverance shone brightly in this contest. Avalar's interception led to ECC's final tally. And Pasadena finished the game trying whatever play imaginable to solve this confounding ECC defensive unit. Defensive coordinators Walt Justice and Steve Schmitz guided a defense as talented as any in the conference. Here are the sophomore linebackers.
Pure energy. Pure energy.
Local product Alex Schultz was quick to the ball while compiling 3 sacks and finishing second in assisted tackles. All-American Dan Katoa finished a stellar career at ECC by tying for second on the team in sacks, finishing second in total defense, and accepting a scholarship to Hawaii. Pound for pound, Andy Avalar was the best defender in the conference. He earned all state honors while leading the Warriors in total defense. Against Mount Sac, Avalar made the most creative interception in school history. These 3 free spirits ran amok in 1992, along with Frank Padilla, Shermont Harrison, and Kurt Stoneberg. The Warrior defensive backfield was as deep as any team around. These sophomores, along with Anthony Rogers, Jermaine Ferguson, Ken Burdine, Alex Hairston, Darren Johnson, Shalon McGowan, and Nasio Jennings spread out the workload. Seven different DBs had interceptions, with Jennings leading the team with 3. Sean Parnell, the classic cover corner with exceptional athleticism, was all-conference and is headed for the University of Arizona. Joining Parnell with all-conference honors was safety Demetrius Boykins, a heads-up player who was second on the team in tackles for loss. The unassailable leader of the backfield was All-State performer Brian Malinowski. Though an injury cut his season short, Malinowski finished second on the team in unassisted tackles and third in total defense. The defensive back's success was partly due to a line charge by the Warrior front 4. These sophomores, coached by the father-son team of Jim and Guy Bunyard, along with Sebastian Beers, Michael Thomas, Aaron and Eric Taulua, Mark Afoa, number 99, Derek Berry, and number 73, Eric Donnelly, were rocks of Gibraltar against the run and pass. Berry showed big league potential as a menacing defensive end, tying for second on the team in sacks. 330-pound Vince Atuaia was the foundation of the defensive line. All-conference selection Keith Jones was voted the team's outstanding interior lineman. He was often the leader of the pack for the swarm-oriented Warrior defense. In other times was simply immovable. But it was All-American Ken Talanoa who was the dominator. He was the players that opponents' game plans tried to run away from. But this 6'5", 260-pound superstar headed for Arizona State could not be avoided. The term single-handedly turning a game around was well within Talanoa's capabilities. And he did just that with the hit of the decade as the story of the 92 Warriors comes full circle to the second half against Long Beach. As the Warriors took the field, it was clear that the offense would need to get revved up. The offensive line, powered by Art Donnell's leadership, and kicker Tom Dallin would play key parts in this drama. But it was Ken Talanoa who grabbed center stage by lifting the emotions of everyone in Murdoch Stadium and breathing fire into the hearts of his teammates with one spectacular play. After the hit, ECC was not only a different team, it was again a Poise team. Not since Riverside in Week 4 had the offense so meticulously, so thoroughly driven the ball down an opponent's throat. Co-captain Michael Phillips contributed with several crucial runs as the ECC O-line wore down the tiring Viking defense. Tom Dallin was flawless, scoring 13 points on the night. Up and down the roster, Warrior players delivered. Ultimately shutting out Long Beach for the remainder of the game. Despite the first half deficit, the legendary Warrior pride persevered, and El Camino was on its way to another bowl game. Another great season of triumph was behind them, and the Warriors proudly walked away from this contest knowing they had given their best right up to the end, right when it counted the most.
Football you played all year. Yeah! Now look, you played like a championship football team. The team we knew you were capable of being. And as proud as I've ever been of any football team ever. That was a great Warrior, ass-kicking, dirty